Alright guys, so if you thought last week's video was pretty extreme as far as sizing and shape with the G-Wolves HSK, we're going to continue that trend this week with the Cooler Master MM720. This is a remaster or a revisit to their classic Xornet and Spawn shape, which I actually remember playing Team Fortress 2 and StarCraft with my buddy. Oh god, years and years ago. So definitely a boomer moment for me by revisiting this mouse, but in its current form. It's really a classic mouse for the new generation, as it does have the honeycomb shape, but we'll get into that. Opening your MM720, Cooler Master keeps it nice and simple. It is a super tiny box, so it does not take a lot of space, and we definitely want to be more conscious about our environment and all the material used on everything. So you get your pamphlet, you get some extra PTFE feet, as well as 4 grips, which is really nice, so they can go on mouse 1 and 2, as well as on the sides. And it's a rather nod to the old versions of this mouse, as they had grips on the sides. And just to take note on the box again, this is your G Pro wireless box. Look at the size difference. Like, that's awesome. I want to see more like this out of other manufacturers just to reduce waste. So props to Cooler Master. So the MM720 is going to run you $49.99, which is extremely competitively priced for everything else out there on the market, even though it's kind of in a league of its own, given its shape and really the customer base that is looking at. It does have LK optical 70 mil switches on the left and right. They are obviously claiming, just like any other optical switch, that it's faster than mechanical. That very well could be true on paper, but me as a human, I'm not noticing that much of a difference. But it does sound good, and we'll get to a sound test in a moment here. Underneath the hood, we do have a 3389 sensor with 7 DPI profiles installed. You can download the software to, of course, minimize that and set whatever DPI setting you're looking for. It does have PTFE feet. They claim it's 95%. I'm assuming the remaining 5% is some other compound of plastic. Whatever it may be, it does work really well. Given that the two things that pair well with the feet, it's going to be that it's only 49 grams heavy, which is insanely light for how wide of a mouse this is, and then it being attached to their Ultra Weave cable. I loved it. If you remember my video a while back on the MM711, this is an outstanding paracord to come out of the box, just like the Endgame XM1. I don't really feel it's something that you necessarily need to paracord with a third-party one. However, if you're looking for a different colorway or you want something just slightly more flexible, then of course Lethal Gaming Gear is going to be your go-to stop. The actual unit itself, while it does have that honeycomb shape, it is IP58 water resistant, and Cooler Master even released a video of them like showing it in a fish tank and turning it on, and it does work. So obviously with all electronics you want to be careful with, but you don't need to be as stressed out if you were to spill water or something on this, as it does have some protection on the PCB, which is really nice. The actual shape itself, it comes in at 105 millimeters by 72 at the grip, and that's definitely a wide grip, right, folks? And then at the height, we're looking at 37, which is right around average, right? So it's a very memorable ergo shape, and it's something that you're not going to confuse with any other mouse out there. It is extremely comfortable when I first put my hands on it. Now, it is something that I would suggest that we would only get if you're into a claw or fingertip. However, you can use this as a palm if you have a smaller hand size. I have a 19 by 10 hand size, and I did use this in a fingertip as well as a claw. I found it to be the most comfortable when I was in a claw state, where your palm is resting on the back of that hump right there. However, you can get away using fingertip, of course, without any concern. And then again, I can't stress enough that you are going to have a smaller hand size if you plan on palming this. The actual side buttons themselves, it has a lip underneath, which is something you don't normally see. It is definitely a design of the older mice that were out there, and it doesn't really get in the way, but I guess it's something that I also don't necessarily need either. I guess if you're lifting off with your mouse, it does help to prevent from hitting those side buttons, but those side buttons, if you look, are extremely pronounced because they actually are like almost bubbled. So you're not going to confuse yourself when you're gaming with which side button that your thumb is resting on. It's going to be very obvious to you. The structure on the MM720, it is a very rigid mouse. There is a little bit of slight creaking if you really press down on it, but in normal game use, it's not anything that I notice at all. And you really kind of have to press down firm on the sides to notice anything. And I guess that's to be expected on such a wide mouse. Now, I do believe that this is the result of a lot of questions and concerns that Cooler Master customers had when they purchased their MM710 and 711, as there were some concerns with quality control on this mouse. While I do love it a lot, it's not perfect. And so they seem to really take that into notion when they were releasing this. Now, they did announce this way back in January, so for all I know, they could have already recognized a lot of those concerns months and months ago and had that ready for improvement on the launch of this. So either way, though, these are two excellent mice, but you can definitely notice where Cooler Master listened to its customers with the MM720. One thing I really love about the actual structure of it all too is the actual honeycomb design is super small. When you compare it to other lightweight mice out there, even their own 711, the holes themselves are really tiny, and it mitigates that feeling of noticing the holes in your palm. And so the nice thing about that as well is that when you're holding this, no matter where you place your pinky, it's not going to latch on to the holes themselves, which was a common problem with the 711 because those holes being so large. So with them being small and them continuing their efforts of making sure that the cutouts stop halfway, the grip is just really, really comfortable. Now going into the actual RGB aspect of it, nothing too new. I mean, I feel like every new mouse that does come out that does have RGB, it's not really bringing anything to the table, but it does its job. And the cool thing about the Cooler Master series, though, is they always include this plastic shroud, if you can see it, where it kind of amplifies on that RGB without it just illuminating through the holes themselves. So it does look really, really clean, and you have to really get in there and look and see where the plastic ends meet on the inside of the mouse. The scroll wheel itself, probably my biggest disappointment with this mouse. It doesn't necessarily feel bad, but it's very light. The tactile is super light, and let's get into a sound test with the buttons and that scroll wheel now. That video gave you guys some good insight on how those clicks feel, including the scroll wheel, which I'm not a particular fan of. I don't know if the sound really gave a good example of just how light it is with each step. They're just not as defined as what I'm used to in a mouse. I still feel like Roccat has the best scroll wheel on the market, and it's just hard to replicate that in other brands, I suppose. But mouse 1 and 2 does have some pre and post travel. I would say more pre than post, but it's nothing that was detrimental to me when I was actually gaming. Outside of that, though, this mouse is not a safe shape. So if you're someone that does have that claw grip, then I think it's a worthy investment. It is only $49.99. So I think it's worth a shot if you do have that grip style, or if you are flexible with your fingertip grip. This might be something. I don't believe it's a palm grip, but again, if you have really small hands, then I suppose that would work for you. It does have a really defined rear end, though, and that might, sway your opinion on this ever being fingertip. But all in all, I think Cooler Master did a great job with this release. I know I'm going to be using it more and more. Although it does have a very intimidating look to it, I do recommend it to those that are curious on this mouse. All in all, let me know what you guys think. Is this something that you're going to pick up? Is this something that you're going to avoid? Let me know in the comments. And if you did get it, what grip are you using? Are you using the claw grip that they're really recommending? Or are you able to, kind of be versatile and use the fingertip or palm on this? Until next time, you guys stay safe out there. Bye now.